Hey everyone, it's Indigo Films TV here, and I got a couple of requests from you guys over Facebook and over YouTube to do a video on how to translate Simlish. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to show you guys the alphabet, which you guys can look at, and then later I will show you guys a couple of phrases that you see around the game and what they translate into. I'm going to translate them for you. And basically you can just use this alphabet, and if you see any type of phrases, whether they're new or old, you can now translate them. Basically, this is what the alphabet looks like. Some of them are scratched out because I made a few changes, but there are a few letters that we don't know yet because it's just not seen around the Sims FreePlay. But by all means, if you guys have seen it, definitely post a link up of the image so that we all know. But this is meant to show you guys what the letters are for the Sims FreePlay. And you're going to see these letters all across town. I mean, you see them in all the different community buildings, like the community center, and you see them at the different lots, and you see them in the houses, you see them on closets, on beds, so it's everywhere. And we're gonna go ahead and I'm going to show you guys what the different meanings of different phrases are that we see around the game, but this is what the general alphabet looks like. It took me about 10-15 minutes to look through everything to get them. It's pretty simple. If you go to the community setting, if you go to the community buildings, you'll see, like if I'll look at the different buildings, like a car building, and I'll translate that into Simlish, and then if you look at the salon, you translate that into Simlish, and that is pretty much how I get the alphabet for the Sims FreePlay. So again, just take a look at this and familiarize yourself with it a little bit, or if you need to pause, go ahead and pause. But I'm going to go over the different images that I found within the game that I took snapshots of, and I will help you guys translate them. Well, again, a lot of you guys have requested this video, so I finally have time to create it. And yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to get started translating some of the things that we see on the community buildings. The first thing I'm going to show you is the town hall, and on top you see some Simlish alphabets, and it actually translates into exactly what it is, town hall, so T-O-W-N space H-A-L-L. You can see that the last two letters are the same, both L's, so that's what that is, town hall. And coincidentally, I think the creators didn't have that much time to create a new building, but the high school that came out with the teenage update is actually, it states the same thing. It says Town Hall on it, even though it is indeed Simtown High. So that is our first building. Next up is the coffee machine, and you see this machine at several different places. One example would be at the swimming center. And of course, this machine says coffee, and it actually says it sideways, so you actually have to turn your head. And if you look from the right side to the left side, that's going from up to down. And you can see that the middle two letters are the same, and the last two letters are the same. Corresponding to two F's and two E's for coffee. So if you look at it sideways and compare it to the alphabet that I showed you at the beginning of this video, this machine says coffee, and some of your goals ask you to come to this machine, again at the swimming center, and I think there's also one at the competition center, where you can go and get a coffee there. So again, it shows up in some of your goals, and if you ever wondered what the side of it says, that's what it stands for. It's not Arabic or Russian or anything, it's Simlish, and it says coffee. The next picture that we see here is taken from the town view, and it is a picture of the car dealership. So if you see on top right there next to the picture of the car, and next to that car that you see through the windows, the glass windows, is some Simlish letters, and it actually translates into cars. So if you look at the alphabet that I showed you at the beginning of this video, you can definitely rewind and go back and look at that and compare it to this. The letters here spell C-A-R-S, and that is cars, and again, this is on top of the car dealership. This is another example of a community building with some Sim alphabet on it, and if you look at the window right there, this is the pet shop, and it says on the window P-E-T, and on the bottom of that it says S-T-O-R-E, so this is the pet store, and you can see some dog houses outside of it. So again, it's next to the salon, and you can see through the Simlish letters that it spells out pet store, which is exactly what it is. This is our famous Simtown sign, and in my Simtown sign video, I asked you guys to translate this, and some of you said Simwood. It's actually not Simwood. If you look at the second to the last two letters, it's not the same letters, so it wouldn't be W-O-O-D. Instead, if you compare this to the alphabet I created at the beginning of this video, it does translate into Simtown. Another thing I wanted to mention before I translate this picture is that sometimes the Simlish will be upside down or it'll be sideways like in the coffee picture, and sometimes they even have misspellings in them. So that's something to consider if you're trying to translate something and it looks like the Simlish doesn't make any sense. You might want to try turning it upside down or sideways, or turning it pronouncing it backwards, spelling it backwards, to see if it turns into any words that make sense. Because if you look at this sign, for example, this is outside the community center, it's actually upside down. So if you look at my alphabet list and look at this sign, it's actually upside down. So if you turn the sign upside down and you read it, it's also, I think it might be backwards if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, it's just upside down. So if you look at it upside down, it says community starts with you, and the start is actually misspelled. So you can translate the whole thing and it'll make sense to you, but yeah, there's a D instead of a S in starts at the beginning of it. So that's what this translates to, and in case you guys do decide to translate some of the Simlish later on, as you guys are playing your game and it doesn't make any sense, it might be because it's either misspelled or it is upside down or backwards, so it's always something to consider. And also a lot of times throughout the game, if you look at different Simlish and phrases, they have some letters that are just thrown in randomly and it makes no sense. So that's also something to take into consideration. Not everything in the Sims Free Play, if you look at the Simlish, would make sense. So you just have to find ones that do. Some of them don't, and sometimes you'll try to translate them and they won't mean anything, but that's okay because I think they just throw it in there so that it would fill up words. For example, on the certificate, if you guys get the little award thing from doing karate or ballet, a lot of it doesn't make sense if you get the certificate and hang it on your wall. So that's just something to take into consideration. Make sure to look at all angles of the phrase or words before you translate it and see whatever makes sense. So this is one of the posters that kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't make sense. If you guys have the teenage section, this is one of the posters. It says, actually this might be a preteen poster, but this is a soccer poster and you can hang it up on your wall. And if you look at the bottom, it says soccer and stuff, but the and is spelled wrong. It's spelled A-N-S instead of A-N-D. And the last word is stuff. The first word is soccer. And if you look at the huge word on top, it's actually supposed to say soccer, but it actually misses the S. So there's no S in there and it just says ocker, basically. But if you really translate it to down to the point, it's supposed to say soccer, and it's exactly what it is of the word of the poster. I'm just going to translate a few more pictures for you and then you guys can do the rest. But if you guys have the snow park, this is actually on the ride up and it says fun times. So this is what it says on the cabin for the ride up to the slopes. And the last thing I'm going to translate for you guys is this Simlish word that is on the snowboard rack, and this is again at the snow park if you guys have the snow park, and it says snowboards on it if you look at it. And if you look at the toboggan one, it was just on the other side, it says toboggan. So that's it for now. This is going to be my whole video on translating Simlish. You guys can, if you guys want to look at the alphabet again, definitely go to the beginning of this video and check it out. But feel free to translate anything that you guys see for the rest of your gameplay. That way, at least, if you guys are wondering what something means, then you will have the chance to be able to translate it, even if it might not make any sense. At least you guys will know what it says and what the letters are, so that you guys won't be wondering. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for requesting it, and I hope you guys have had a nice new year.